Hello, and welcome to EduCATion Today, an educational video series that is hosted here in the College of Education at Kansas State University. I am pleased to introduce to you Dr. Shelbie Witte. She is our Alumni Fellow for 2017, and we're thrilled to have you back on campus. Thank you for being here. She earned both her master's and her doctorate degrees here at K-State in curriculum and instruction. And she began her teaching career in 1996 and has taught at all levels, including at the middle school at Fort Riley. And so we're excited to hear a little bit more about that experience. She currently lives in Stillwater, Oklahoma with her family, where she's an associate professor of adolescent literacy and English education at Oklahoma State University. So welcome.
Thank
welcome.
You so much.
So tell us a little bit about your background in education and why you chose to be a teacher.
Well, I didn't initially choose to be a teacher. I think I was born to be a teacher, but didn't realize it. But I always knew that I adored school. I would take schoolwork home and play school once I left school. So my dolls and bears and my brother would have to sit through homework and me grading worksheets and all those things. So I think I was built to do that, but didn't quite come to that realization until after a year in college and realized, this is what I've been called to do. Not only have I been called to do it, but I'm going to choose to do it. And so I was very lucky to have my first teaching job in my hometown and surrounded myself with excellent teachers who had hearts of gold for the kids they worked with at Chickasha Intermediate School, and then had the privilege then to teach in a high school because I wanted that experience also at Norman North. And all roads brought me to Fort Riley Middle School, which was just the most rewarding teaching experience for me, teaching middle school English language arts to such a diverse group of folks from all over the world, truly, that were trying to figure out their way in the world, So not only is middle school complicated, but when you're new to a middle school, moving so much that like military students often do, it was nice to be a part of a community that was built to try to foster them and help those families take care of them. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So we, of course, geographically so close to Fort Riley Middle School, we've put a real emphasis on learning more about the military-connected child. So talk about some of the things you learned at Fort Riley that have carried with you.
I don't know that I was prepared to teach military children, although if you'd asked me at the time, I would think, oh, sure, yeah, what's the difference? There is a difference. I think military connected families and students bring with them such a diverse lens of world experience that they need opportunities to share with one another and share with the teacher and with the school. But they also have a lot of uneasiness. They never feel quite rooted, and because of a lot of the movement that happens. And so I found that it takes a while sometimes to break through the facades that military students wear, the bravery they wear to the first day of middle school in a new school that may be the 5th or 6th school they've attended. It takes a while to break down that facade to find out who the kid really is and what she likes to do, and what drives her and engages him and motivates them to want to be good learners. So I learned that community building is a huge part of teaching military students and helping them connect together, but also finding who they are individually and then trying to make your curriculum fit that.
So the foundational literacy skills are so important to a student being successful in all other areas. So talk about your background in curriculum and instruction and reaching those struggling learners.
So I think reading and writing, of course, are core skill sets that everyone needs. But I also think critical thinking and problem solving are important. And so my work in curriculum instruction has really helped me be an interdisciplinary thinker and teacher and educator, in that I try to find ways to connect interesting or or controversial, for example, topics and ideas to get kids engaged and motivated so that we can then get to the basic skills that need to be reviewed or taught. And so it may be a different approach to come in that way, but I feel like until kids or students are really motivated and engaged in the subject area or the topic, that it's hard to get to those fundamentals. And then I also think until they see why those fundamental skills are important, that sometimes they don't appreciate it. So I spend a lot of time talking about the why and what our essential reasons and questions were for moving forward with a particular skill or set of standards.
So at OSU, you direct the Writing Project. Talk a little bit about that and the impact of that work.
Sure. So the OSU Writing Project, we just celebrated our 25th year. We're part of the National Writing Project, which is the largest professional development network in the country. Kansas has the Flint Hills Writing Project, for example. And we work with teachers and students and community leaders to talk about ways in which we can improve writing in schools and in our communities. And so our work really supports our land-grant mission, much like K-State's, and that we want to take our knowledge and the things that we know out to the community. So right now we're working with some rural districts in Oklahoma to improve the teaching of argument writing in grades 4 through 10, because we believe that argument is a skill that we all need to know and learn to use as adults and likely our jobs, but certainly just in life in general, we have to know how to present an argument or a claim and to defend that. So the work in the Writing Project with a strong group of just really motivated teachers and teacher consultants have really pushed that work forward. So we're excited for what's ahead there.
So you're in a variety of leadership roles, and we share a love of Kansas State University.
Yes,
so how did your experiences and your preparation here at K-State prepare you for what you're doing now?
Oh, goodness. My experiences here were really developed with my work with my colleagues and my peer students in the classroom, where we challenged one another. And I think to be able to be in an environment where you can challenge each other's thinking and approach and defend your own teaching and approach in a way that's welcoming really prepared me to go out and to be able to help others be critical of their own approaches and work. But I also think being a K-State student and a K-State grad has shown me what community is and what it feels like to be a part of people that genuinely care about your success and care about how well you're doing. And so some of my closest friends were students that I went to K-State with and continued to work with. But I also think just the best teachers I know have come from K-State. And if I were to start a school anywhere, I would fill it with K-State grads because I just know that they have not only the knowledge and the pedagogy and the research to back their practice, but they have the hearts that it takes to be a teacher.
Which is so critical, isn't
Yes,
it?
very much.
Absolutely. So we talk about the sense of family at K-State,
Yes.
and you've just underscored how that's exemplified then in a classroom.
Sure.
So a lot of things are changing classrooms.
Yes.
And so I think it's important that our program is changing to prepare those teachers that you would
Yes,
hire
right.
to be the most effective and the most caring that they can be. So talk about some of the changes that you've seen over the years in our profession of preparing teachers for today's children.
Well, I think we have done a really good job as teacher educators in preparing our students for curricular decision making. But I think we have some work to do on helping them understand the theory that undergirds the practices they're doing so that when they're ever asked, why are you teaching this or why are you approaching it that way, they can better advocate for the curricular decisions they've made. So helping students be better or pre-service teachers or teacher candidates be better advocates for the curricular decisions they're making is one thing that we need to all work on in the field. But I believe that we're doing an excellent job of helping them see what text means, and that text is not just print on paper, but can be multimodal. And so I think we're doing some great things to broaden the idea of what literacy means and what it means to read and write in a 21st century world, and what it means to engage on a global level with critical thinking. So the technology integration, I think, is such a huge part of where we're headed in teacher preparation now, but not technology integration just for the sake of integrating it, but for it to really serve a purpose in the classroom. My granddaughter, who's 6, at 2 years old, could swipe an iPad. And so in some ways, they're light years ahead of where we imagined our students may be when they come to school. But there's some general practical technological skills that we still need to make sure that we're teaching. And so just because technology is in the classroom, that we don't overlook the necessary skill sets that we should be working on.
Absolutely. You use the word advocacy, and I think that that word is so important to our profession right now, helping teachers find their voice, and that's used not on the playground in a getting attention way, but how do we use that voice across our communities, across our state, within the legislature? So talk about that, the importance and how teachers can really step up and use their voice.
I think that's so important. So I talk with pre-service teachers and practicing teachers a lot about finding their stories to share. So there are a lot of avenues to do that. And I think it's necessary for the world to hear the positive things that are happening in classrooms. The news oftentimes can be inundated with negative news stories about teachers and schools, but our schools are doing very well. Our teachers are working so very hard. Our students are excelling. But oftentimes we don't hear those stories. So we talk about writing letters to the editor, about writing not just in professional journals, but sharing blog stories, making sure parents and the community know about the good work that's happening. I think that's advocacy. And there's bigger advocacy pictures, like talking with legislators. So we work with our pre-service teachers and practicing teachers on developing elevator speeches that they can give in 1 minute or less about what the issues are that are driving their concerns. So for example, over focus on standardized assessment or losing electives in school. Those things speak to our legislators if the story is right. And it's kind of like thinking of a wake or a ripple. Sometimes you can be just as effective with a little pebble in water to ripple through. You don't have to drown someone with your jet ski wake to get your message across. And so, some would say it may be time for some desperate measures in some states that are just really at the very bottom of the barrel as far as the budgets go. But one way to consistently change that narrative, I think, is to share the positive, and teachers need to take the leadership in doing that.
So as a final question, using your teacher voice, what do you want the world to know about education in our profession?
We're doing an excellent job. Don't believe the negative things you hear on the news. I would want the world to visit our schools, to come inside, to see the hard work that teachers are doing, to stay past when the students leave, to see what teachers do after the students are gone, to visit with a teacher on Saturday to see what that teacher is doing, and he or she is likely developing lesson plans or grading or preparing or worrying about whether the kids they have in their classrooms are eating that weekend. You know, the fact that teaching is 24 hours a day. And so I would just want the world to understand what the profession is if they don't, and to ask questions if they have concerns, but to help support us as we're going through a pretty difficult time in many states, most of the states right now, on making sure we have our basic educational needs.
Well, thank you for your advocacy, for the impact that you're making on education, and thank you so much, Dr. Wittie, for being with us today.
So glad to be here.
And thank you for joining on this Education Today episode.
Hey guys, thank you so much for stopping by our channel and watching what we have here. And we have so much more stuff for you to check out. So go ahead, hit subscribe down here. You will not regret it. And I promise you, we have some awesome events that you can watch down here. It'll make you a better educator, so just do it. Do it right here and right here. Thank you.